Okie dokie. So what is intent to register? So your intent to register is you telling Western what you hoped to intend to register in for next year. So all first year students have to do this process. Because as a first year student, your program is more general, you need to use your intent to register to declare a particular module or combination of modules that you would like to be considered for second year. Now, anytime you want to change your program, you can continue to do this each year. But if you are in a program that you're happy with, you don't have to do it moving forward, but all first year students have to do it because they are in general first year programs. The timeline, sort of where we're at right now, is just processing that intent to register. You can go onto your student center and do that, and I'll show you those steps in a minute. So we have until March 31st to complete our intent to registers. And now you can do them multiple times. So if you've already tried it, but then after today, you want to go in and do a new one, you can do it over and over and over. They'll just take your most recent submission. In the month of May, once all final grades are posted, we will review all of those requests or all of those intent to register forms. So we review each student individually, we look at your grades, and then your program, or where you will be placed for the following year, will be provided to you in June. Now, you don't get an email when that is published necessarily, but it will be published to your student center by the registrar's office, so you can see it first there. And then in July is when you will select your classes. Now the timetable will be up June 1st. So you have lots of time to sort of plan things out, and then your registration is typically in the middle of July as a second year student. Here is what it will look like on your student center. I know the tiles are a little bit different. I'm still learning my way around them as well, but these are the steps that you would take. So academics to program status, and then intent to register form. And that's where you will submit it. And we'll walk through a demo of what that will look like on the inside as well. Now, just to speak to our different modules, so what you're doing on your intent to register is saying, I would like to be considered for the BA or the BSc or clinical kin or the BA plus a minor in rehab, etc. And there's tons and tons of different combinations that you can do. So we just need to clarify what we are looking at for each individual module. So for an honors program, which is the Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts, and Clinical Kin. So within kin, you have to meet these minimum requirements for all our programs, is a minimum 70% average with no grade less than 60. Now the BSc is limited enrollment with 75 spaces. So that minimum cutoff average can be higher. Now I've seen it as low as a 73, and I've seen it as high as a 78.5, but typically it's sort of in the middle there, around sort of a 74.5 to a 75.5, which what it was last year. Now your modular average is based on your 4 first-year kin courses as well as physiology. So we're looking for a modular average of 70%, a term average of 70%, and that no grade less than 60. You must also have 1.0 science at the 1000 level. So both halves of bio, both halves of chem, 2 maths, 2 physics, etc. You could have more than that, but we're just looking for 1 to be finished by April 30th for consideration for the BSc. Like I said, it is a competitive program, so that average can fluctuate. If you put the BSc as your first choice on your intent to register, because kinesiology can only be your first choice, you can't use both choices for kin. So you wouldn't put BSc as your first one and BA as your second one. If you put the BSc as your first choice, our review is inclusive. So if you don't get Bachelor of Science, we will automatically look at you for the BA, and then we will automatically look at you for the major as well. So we will do all of that for you. We don't look at course load necessarily. So that's fine if you have less than 5.0 credits, as long as you have completed those science credits like I mentioned. And we make decisions in May. So unfortunately, anything you would do in the summer is not going to change the outcome for this September. Now, it could change the outcome in the future. So for example, you upgrade a science credit in the summer, you don't get the BSc for year 2, but you could then be considered for the BSc in year 3 because of the work you did this summer, but it's not going to impact this September. For the Bachelor of Arts honors, because this program is not limited enrollment, as long as you meet that 70% term average, the 70% modular average, and no grade less than 60, as a year 1 kin student, you are guaranteed movement into the program as long as you meet those minimum requirements. So we do have limited enrollment modules, but we have a space for everyone we admitted in first year. So as long as you meet those minimums, you are guaranteed movement. We do admit students to the BA, even if they don't have all the required courses. So if you did have to drop a kin course or you have a lesser than course load, again, not an issue. And again, we do not reassess after the summer session. For clinical kin, like I said, this one is also limited enrollment. So we're looking for that 70% term average, 70% module average, and no grade less than 60. You must also have a half credit of stats completed by April 30th. Now, it won't necessarily be included in that modular average, but we do want to see that it has successfully been completed. And because it is a limited enrollment program, last year, the cutoff average was actually a 72.5, so slightly above that minimum. I've seen it go as high as a 75, but again, it's typically around this sort of low 70s area. Again, if you select clinical kin as your first choice and you are not eligible, we automatically look at you for the other program, so the BA or the major. Now, one thing to note is you do have to decide between the BSc and clinical kin. So because you can only use one choice, you can only pick one limited enrollment module. So it either has to be BSc or clinical kin, and then we would look at you for the BA or the major. You can't pick both. So you do have to decide in that regard which one is your priority. And again, we don't reassess for our programs after summer. So for the major, what will happen is once we are reviewing all of these students, everyone who's met those minimum requirements, the 70% term, the 70% module average, and no grade less than 60, we chuck all of them in the program. We typically have spaces left over. So what will happen with those spaces is we first look at students who fall slightly below in one area and then the other. So if you have a 70% average, but a D or an F in an elective, that's the first group that we would consider. If there are still remaining spaces beyond that, we will look for students whose average falls slightly below a 70%, but all of their marks are above a 60. Those students who are admitted will be admitted to the major. Now, if you're not sure what all that means, a specialization is typically 9 to 11 credits. A major is 6 to 7. The honors piece comes from that marks requirement. So if you've met that marks requirement, you would be in the honors program. So the honors specialization BSc, honor specialization BA clinical kin, honor specialization BA. If you fall below those requirements, you're still in a BA, but it's a major, and it's because you haven't met those minimum honors requirements. Now, just because you might be in this program in year 2, doesn't mean you can't then improve your marks ever so slightly, reapply for the honors module for year 3, and continue on in that regard. So this is more of just probably a holding pattern for you for the 1 year, and then you can get into those honors modules in future years. A letter of support. If you find that there has been extenuating circumstances that have impacted your ability to be successful this year, we've all been through a lot the last few years, and we know everyone has a lot going on, and we need to hear about that if you feel like it has impacted your academics. Now, these are things, if we don't hear from you, we will just simply look at the grades because that's all the information that we have, but you're more than welcome to submit the letter of support. It is due by April 30th, and you can send it into KinUG, sort of our general email address. And this letter should just outline the circumstances that did impact you. If there is any supporting documentation, you can send that along as well. And we will consider this when reviewing your grades, so that if you did fall slightly below, we could potentially use this information to allow you to continue in kin. And these are reviewed by a committee, but kept entirely confidential, so no need to worry about that. Just a simple timeline for you here. So in March, we're completing our intent to register. In April, we submit our letter of support if we feel like we have something we want to communicate with the program. In May, we review you for progression once we have all of your final grades. If you are eligible for kin, at that point, you can review all of the module requirements, plan accordingly with the timetable, and course enrollment will be in July. If you are not eligible for kinesiology, we do recommend that you still reach out to us. We can help you sort of shadow the program, pick your courses accordingly, so that if you're not able to return to kin for year 2, we can help you plan those courses for year 2 so that you are planning, repeating anything that you might need to, and then return to us in year 3 if that's what you want to do. And if you do have to spend the year away for year 2, with careful planning, you can still graduate in 4 years once you return to us in year 3. So all the more reason to chat with Jess or I. We're here all summer, whether you're in kin or not, but even more so if you're not, we're happy to support you in that, to outline what you should be taking to try to shadow kin as much as possible. And then you improve that average ever so slightly, get back to us in year 3 and still graduate on time. Some musts to consider. Kin must be your first choice because we are limited enrollment. Like I mentioned, our review is comprehensive. So if you put a limited enrollment module as your first choice, we will review you for all the others. You don't have to indicate that. Your second choice on your ITR must be outside of kin. So that must be a program that you are eligible for or undeclared, which we will chat about in a minute. If you are wanting to combine kin with something, you want to do a minor in another area, or you're wanting to do a double major, make sure that you're researching those requirements for those other modules in the academic calendar, so that when you put them on your ITR, that it is something that is feasible. If you only have biology, and biology requires biology and chemistry, there's no sense in putting a minor in biology on your ITR because you're not eligible for it. So just that kind of thing to think about. Additional modules, like I mentioned, a major or a minor, you don't have to pick one. You can put an additional module on, but you do not have to. If you did complete a minor in something, that's fantastic, but it will not appear on your diploma. It will appear on your transcript, however. Professional programs typically don't favor those with additional modules. However, if your additional module is in something that you're really excited about and you do really well in, it could potentially help your GPA, but again, not something that you have to add. And if you do add, say, a minor in something or a second major, and you decide that that's not what you want to pursue any longer, you just want to focus on kin or free up your electives, you can always drop a minor later on, or even add one. Maybe next year you take a few extra senior courses and you want to add that minor in because you're really enjoying it. Like I said, each year you can change up your intent to register. Second choice, just some more guidance there. Like I said, make sure you're reviewing the academic calendar to make sure that you do in fact meet the prerequisites for those additional modules or your second choice plan. So this student here has all 4 first-year kin classes. They have Physiology 1021 and then Classics and Soc. So they would be eligible in addition to kin for classical studies, sociology, and criminology. That would be their alternative options, plus being undeclared. Being undeclared is an option for all students to put as their second choice. Essentially, it means that you are not in a module. So you're not in an honors specialization, you're not in a major, you're not in a module, you are simply undeclared. As an undeclared student, you can be in either the Faculty of Arts, the Faculty of Social Science, or the Faculty of Science. Truly, it doesn't really matter which one you pick, because if you're undeclared in arts, you don't have to take a specific number of their classes, etc., etc. What being undeclared allows you to do is sort of explore other options, take anything that we would recommend to shadow our program as much as possible. So it's the most flexible option. Whereas if you declare something like, let's say, sociology, they may require that you take a certain number of sociology courses, and you might not be interested in doing that. So both are options, either picking a second degree subject or going undeclared. Now, like I said, it is important that you chat with us through the summer to make sure that you're picking your courses in year 2 in such a way that allows you to get back into kin successfully. Maybe that's repeating something, taking as many of our courses as you can, but also preparing for a backup plan if kin doesn't happen in year 3. You are limited to 1.0 kin courses in second year as an undeclared student, but you can take other requirements, our stats courses, you can do physiology if you need to repeat it, et cetera, et cetera. So lots of things that you can do to make it a worthwhile year and find your way back to us. So just a summary, kin must be your first choice. You can only list kinesiology once. Our review is comprehensive. You can add majors and minors, but you just want to ensure that you've met the requirements. And then your second choice or your parallel plan must be outside of kin, and you must have the required first year courses to be eligible for that additional module. If not, undeclared is always an option. Jess, you have anything to add before I go on to the demo?
Not quite yet. Let's maybe work through the demo and then we can answer some questions.
Awesome. So let's make sure I can get this technology going. Okay, here we are. 25008. So I'm just going to walk you through the steps here. This is just a test student number, and we can go through a couple of different options. So you're going to sort of start by top down, course load, faculty, program, and then get into the more specific details. So let's say full-time Faculty of Health Sciences. So, and here's where you will pick the degree type. So within kinesiology, we have both the Bachelor of Arts and the Bachelor of Science. We also have Western Scholars, which I believe you have to have an 80% average in first year with no grade less than 70. So if you did meet those minimum requirements, you could select that option as well. So let's first go through the Bachelor of Arts. Actually, I'm going to change my mind, Bachelor of Science. And there's just one option, super simple. So here is where you're going to see where you can add those additional modules. So do you want to do the honors specialization Bachelor of Science plus a major, which would be 6 credits? Now, this is always an option, but it would be probably more than what your degree would allow. So it would mean some summer courses or extra time, or the honor specialization plus the minor. So if we chose the minor, for example, the first one is kin. Again, it's the only option. And then you have all these minors to choose from. So lots and lots to select from. This is why it's so important to make sure you have the required classes. So we can click here. Let's do biology, for example, and then continue. And that you will get an email both with your first choice and your second choice, just confirming these details. And then you go on to select your second choice there. So if we go back, full course load, we go to Health Sciences, we go to Bachelor of Arts, This one you're going to see has some more options. So we have the honors program, which is the general BA, as well as clinical kin, you would select here. If you're, or the double major for that matter. If you're thinking just the major, you can do the 3-year or the 4-year. Most students are going to select honors, knowing that if they don't get honors, we will automatically review you for the major anyways. So this is a fine choice for most of you. And then again here, selecting your combinations, honor specialization just by itself, honor specialization with a major, with a minor, and then that honors double major that I mentioned. So we'll go back in here and just do the honor specialization. And then here you'll see you have both the kinesiology, which is the more general program, and then clinical kin is listed here because it is a Bachelor of Arts. So we'll do clinical kin and hit continue and then confirm. And I just want to show you one last thing with this, with the undeclared piece. So if we go to Faculty of Health Sciences, you'll see here that undeclared is not an option. Like, so when I mentioned that we have to be in either science, social science, or arts, if you go to the Faculty of Science, you'll see undeclared there. It's in that initial list for both science, social science, and arts. You'll select that. 4-year undeclared, undeclared. They don't give you a whole lot of choice in the matter. And then you confirm it. So those are the options, the Bachelor of Science, the BA, both clinical and general, and then the undeclared piece, and the additional modules are there.